What's up, everybody? This is the Sports Leak podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Dean back on the show. Good to have you, Dean.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. It's good to be with you again.
Absolutely. And another week in the books. College football week three preview coming up tonight, this episode, and a fun week, too, to kind of, look back on as well. Not quite as many great games as week one, but the season we're getting into the groove of the season and things are starting to make a little bit more sense and see which teams come out of the pack and separate themselves and who stumbles early in the season.
Yeah, it's still early enough where the teams that we think are going to be really good are just playing around with lower ranked teams,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not challenged yet. Um, so, I think it's going to be a couple more weeks before they get into their schedule where they got to start playing seriously.
Yeah, I agree. And but um it's still fun to follow along and see how it goes. We'll start it off with Louisville blows out Murray State 56 to nothing, an expected win there. Have you seen Louisville so far this year? Do they look any good to you? How do you see Louisville this year? At times Louisville can be a really good team. How they look to you this year?
I'm not really impressed with them yet. They have had some past history of being pretty good with
Hmm.
some real quality players,
Yeah,
but I, I don't, I haven't seen anything yet that says anything special about them.
yeah, and they're gonna play at Indiana on Saturday. They should
Yeah,
be able to win that, get to 3-0, right?
they should. I wouldn't count out Indiana though.
Yeah, Indiana's not too bad. Indiana beats Indiana State on Friday night, 41-7, and Indiana State without Larry Bird, they didn't really have much of a shot.
Yeah, that 7 points doesn't really mean much, does
No,
it?
but I like Indiana. They hung tough against Ohio State. They won a game they were supposed to.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can give Louisville a matchup. I'm rooting for Indiana in that game, so we'll see.
Yeah, it should be a good contest. I think either one of the teams can win.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Can
mean Louisville. I mean, they played Murray State. Come on,
yeah.
um, and they should have beat them bad and blanked them.
Yep. So
So I don't think that really means anything.
they did what they were supposed to do,
Yeah.
and what they beat Georgia Tech week one, right?
Yes. Now
And that was
that was a little more impressive.
yeah.
So
So
we'll see.
yeah, if you beat Indiana, get to 3-0, we'll start giving them some respect for sure. Um, Kansas beats Illinois to get to 2-0. Illinois, survived a close game in week one, and then Kansas beats them in week two. That was actually kind of a fun game to watch, and Kansas doesn't look too bad for a basketball school.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're actually talking about Kansas as a football team.
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
yeah,
Yeah.
get the 2-0. We'll see who they play in week three, but take care of business, win the games you're supposed to win, right? And then see how you
That's
do up
right.
against the true test.
That's right.
Saturday, Georgia takes care of Ball State 45-3. Again, we talked about it. Georgia's not going to face anybody until probably November. So just doing what they're supposed to do. Get to 2-0.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
Michigan Michigan beats UNLV. No Jim Harbaugh, no problem, like we expected. All these games are at home without the head coach, so they should be just fine.
Yep, I agree.
Have you seen anything from Michigan that you have your eye on going forward, and when they do face Penn State or Ohio State or any of these teams? Have you seen anything out of Michigan yet?
Well, I'm a little concerned that they've not scored more points. That
Mm-hmm.
their offense hasn't done more than what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they've won those games, and I mean they beat UNLV soundly, but so
Yeah.
I mean you'd expect them to score at least 35 points, if not more.
Yeah.
So, I'm still not really impressed with their offense yet.
Yeah. I agree. And especially they seem, they maybe they're getting caught up in the JJ McCarthy Heisman talk a little bit themselves instead of playing to, in my opinion, their strength was which is just running the ball down, and making opponents stop it. I think they're kind of trying to focus a little bit on the passing game and make JJ look better, statistically.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful with that sort of thing. Once you get your name mentioned, you
Yeah.
you want to try to elevate that. And you're right. I mean, I thought that their running game was going to be the power part of their offense.
Yeah. So, and behind a great offensive line.
Yeah,
So we'll see if maybe they shift to that later in the season. But right now, yeah, we'll see how they look going forward and if the offense wakes up more later in the year.
yeah.
Number three, Alabama falls to number 11, Texas in Tuscaloosa. Um, to lose at home is a big loss for Bama and a very impressive win for Texas, you know?
Yeah, I don't think anybody really uh, thought that Texas would go in there and do that.
Yeah.
I think they thought it was going to be fairly close within a touchdown, but I mean that was a beat down in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the quarterback, I didn't see Alabama really do much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I expected more out of them, and their quarterback did turn the ball over twice. That played a big role in the outcome.
Yep.
It could have been worse, the final score. And Texas, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers balled out, 350 yards, three touchdowns, no turnovers, exactly what you'd expect.
And that's what you
Uh,
need to do. Yeah.
yeah, so a great sign for Texas, with the coming up move to the SEC to beat Bama on the road. That's got to give them some confidence going forward.
And it's going to give Texas a little bit of boost. Like you said, when they next year they join the league,
Yeah.
the conference, and people are going to already have respect for them.
Hmm.
Um, everybody kind of snickered when they said, Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. Come on.
Yeah.
And here this happens. And so, it's going to be interesting, maybe.
Yeah, and how about Steve Sarkisian beating Nick Saban? So that's impressive too.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can't beat all your coordinators forever.
yeah, yeah. So now he's gonna have to deal with Kirby Smart, Sark coming to the conference. A bunch of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, it'll be interesting. And is Bama taking a step back a little bit? It kind of feels like they are.
I feel that way.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody is in awe.
yeah.
Once a
Anymore.
team goes in there and whips them like that, everybody's going to take notice and say, "Well, hey, uh, they're not that great.
Hmm.
They may be pretty good, but they are not at the elite level now."
Yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see if Texas can keep this going. If they are that good, they should be a top five team or close to it, ranked wise.
Yeah,
And we'll see, they if they can run the table, get into the playoffs, make some noise late in the year. but I like that quarterback.
Well, I just hope this win doesn't go to their head
Yeah,
and not be serious with the rest of the schedule.
yep,
That can happen.
yeah. Absolutely have to take Oklahoma seriously,
Yeah,
and it's a tough Big 12. Kansas State and a lot of different teams out there that could, if you get caught slipping.
absolutely.
So, Florida State blows out Southern Miss, takes care of business. I like Florida State this year. I'm going to be kind of rooting for them. That opening win over LSU opened my eyes about how good they can be. And I would like to see Florida State go on a deep run this year. So that's kind of what I'm rooting for there.
Yeah, right now I think you're right. Florida State looks like they're a serious contender.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we're early in the season, and it's really hard to say, but they've rattled some cages.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we'll see what happens going forward. It's just that, after two games, it just you just don't know.
Yeah. No, we were talking about the same thing on the NFL side after week one. It's like we're jumping to all these conclusions, and it's like, man, it's so early in the year yet still. You know,
Right. Yes,
it can be prisoners of the moment pretty easily. And,
exactly. Yes.
right now, my Bears, it's like the end of the world. So,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
but I'm feeling what Florida State's got. Again, yeah, they're only 2-0. They beat Southern Miss, who, that's not that impressive, but the LSU win is in my mind right now, and we'll see if they can keep it going forward. Ohio State beats Youngstown State 35-7. Again, we'll see with that team and Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison looked a lot better in this game with 160 yards and two touchdowns, but can he do it against, he kind of struggled against Indiana. So can they put up these points and be this effective against solid opponents? It's going to be
Yeah,
interesting.
I kind of got the same comment that we just talked about Michigan. I,
Yeah.
I wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
It was a Division two team again, say,
Yeah.
and yeah, you beat them, but I mean, you're supposed to be one of the elite teams,
Yeah.
and you're not. I mean, I don't see. You'd think it'd be more like 40 some or 50 some points when you're
Yeah.
playing a Division two team.
Mm-hmm. 66 like Florida State or 56 like USC. Even Penn State put up 63.
Yes, I mean that's what you'd expect,
Yeah.
and maybe even a shutout.
Yeah.
So
I, I think it's more worrisome for Michigan, honestly. I think it's a little bit of a down year for Ohio State. Like, I don't know about their quarterback. I know they have talent, but I just don't expect as much from Ohio State this year, with Penn State being better. And Michigan's really this is their year to go on a deep run to win, to be the class of the conference. And we still have some questions on Michigan. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
yes,
USC takes care of Stanford 56-10. Uh, they take care of business. They hold Stanford to just 10 points. Maybe that defense is starting to play a little bit better. Hard to say with Stanford. You never know.
right. Yeah, I don't hold Sanford very high. They've been down for some time, and
Yeah.
and USC. I mean, they ran away with it in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, it was over, and I mean, I think they even pulled the quarterback at half.
Yeah. It looks like they
Right.
scored 49 points in the first half.
Yeah, so they just totally just backed off and played
Yeah.
everybody else.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, they probably did that defensively too,
Yeah.
and so that's impressive to still hold them to only 10.
Yeah. It's a step in the right direction for that for that Trojan defense for sure.
Yeah, yeah. They're going to be contenders.
Yeah. How about Penn State? 63-7 win over Delaware. In my opinion, I got Penn State above Ohio State with the eye test right now. I don't know. How about you?
I tend to go along with that statement. They're obviously more impressive. I mean, they played a nobody,
Mm-hmm.
so they should have scored a ton of points.
Yeah.
So again, we got to get past all these cake jobs that they're got scheduled and get into some games where they're meaningful to
Yeah.
know anything. You
Yeah.
know, just because you beat the crap out of somebody that's in another division, that doesn't impress me too much because
Yeah. But
because you should do that.
yeah. But at least they're doing what they're supposed to. That's a good
Yes.
sign at least. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't,
I agree with that.
yeah. Like you can't really judge them, but you can say they're doing what they're supposed to do. And
Right.
with teams like Penn State, they could beat the doors off of Indiana in conference play, and even then, we're kind of like, how great is this team? You don't really know until they do it to Ohio State or Michigan or
Right.
so it's tough in college football a little bit, but you put up 63 points, take care of business. You know, I put a check mark on it. Move on to the next week. 2-0, good start.
Yep.
Washington beats Tulsa 43-10. Washington going to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Very tough game for my Spartans on Saturday.
Yes.
And on top of it, we won't have our head coach, Mel Tucker, no longer the Michigan State head coach. So that's going to be even more tough.
Yep.
Rooting for Michigan State regardless. Hoping we keep it competitive. I don't want it to read Washington beats Michigan State 43-10. If we can keep it
Yeah.
competitive, that's all I care about.
Yeah. And it's kind of sad that you got to drop yourself to that level,
Yeah.
to say, well, I just hope they compete.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to swallow, isn't it?
Well, the Mark D'Antonio days are gone, and Mel Tucker, he was building something, but this was kind of a down year. Don't know too much. It lost some guys in the transfer portal. Now without the head coach, it's going to be tough. And Washington is one of those teams that really could win their conference and go to the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
might have a Heisman quarterback there.
Yeah. Possible.
Yeah. So. Tennessee beats Austin Peay 30-13, takes care of business. Um, Notre Dame beats NC State 45-24. A bit of what was a weather delay in the middle of that game, huh?
Yeah.
That's got to be frustrating as a fan. You sit down, you're excited, ready to watch the game, and then middle of the game it gets delayed for what, like an hour or more?
Yeah. The lightning thing, I mean,
Yeah,
you can play when it's raining, but
yeah,
the lightning just stops everything.
yeah.
That was, I mean, it was a delay that, no one wants to put up with, but at least it wasn't like Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Virginia Tech didn't play for like 5 or 6 hours, and it's like, geez, I mean, how could you still even play the game?
Yeah, and like half the fans are gonna give up at some point, so you're
Yeah,
not gonna have a sellout anymore.
yeah, yeah. And then they still lost. So, I mean, that didn't help.
Yeah. Has has it always been that way? I felt like back in the day they just played football, even if it was storming or if it's lightning close or thunderstorm. Did they always delay the games?
I don't think it's necessarily the thunder
Yeah, just the close
or or
lightning.
or even a downpour, they can play in it.
Yeah,
But when it comes to lightning, it's everybody's is considered in danger.
yeah,
So they got to empty the stadium and take everybody out, and
yeah,
it's a safety thing. I think it's
yeah,
like a, uh, I think it's like a mile away or something like that. Is that what it is?
yeah. I think so.
I don't recall exactly the distance now, but I mean that's,
Yeah,
and then it's a half hour wait after each lightning strike.
yeah. That's the frustrating part too.
Yeah,
But at least they were able to get the game going on Saturday after not too long and finish the game. And Notre Dame took care of business, won comfortably, 45-24. Sam Hartman throws 4 touchdowns and no interceptions in his
yep.
return, in his matchup against NC State. You had to be happy to see Hartman play well against a team that statistically had his number a little bit.
Yeah. I like I said last week, I think they're going to go to the film and really study what the mistakes were,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to put him in that spot again.
Yeah.
And so he was ready.
Yeah.
The whole team was ready for that.
Yeah, their first true road game, their first real test of the season, and they take care of business, win by 21 points. Audric Estime, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns
Yeah.
combined. So Notre Dame hitting on all cylinders, and then they take the ball away, 3 interceptions for Notre Dame. So really, both sides of the ball, throwing, running, defense. Notre Dame seems to have a pretty complete team this year.
Yeah, they got a good package. They're again, I think they're going to contend. Uh, uh,
Hmm.
so as long as they keep playing like that, they will.
Yeah, 3-0 start, and what Central Michigan coming up.
Yes.
So that I mean, they should take care of business there, uh, and get that win, get to 4-0, and then Ohio State. So I can't wait for that Ohio State game.
Yeah. Like I said, once they get past these easy games, they're going to get into the schedule where they got to really find out what your medal is.
Yeah, and yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. But like I said, if you can get to the big thing is don't look forward to Ohio State. Don't look past Central. Take care of business and beat Central. Notre Dame looks like they have the team that can overcome some of that and still get the win. And then go into that Ohio State game undefeated. And if you come out undefeated, the entire country, the national media is going to have to start giving Notre Dame a lot of respect.
Yeah, whoever wins that ball game is going to get the a lot of respect. They'll be considered a real threat uh,
Yeah,
to win the whole thing.
yeah. And I think Notre Dame has the more complete team over Ohio State. I think they've got the better court.
I do too. I agree with that.
Yeah. So and the atmosphere in South Bend is going to be crazy.
Yes.
Um, so can't wait for that in 2 weeks. I enjoyed this game, Utah against Baylor at noon. Was actually a very entertaining game. Battle of backup quarterbacks with Cam Rising out and Baylor's quarterback hurt. And Baylor looked like they were going to steal this one and beat number 12 Utah. Utah pulled it
Yeah.
off again, but a very entertaining game.
Yeah. Total surprise. I mean, I thought Utah would just go in there and mop them up, and I mean, it became it became a battle.
So, you-
So I don't know about Utah. I mean, really, I mean, um, up and down. I don't get it.
a close game.
Yeah.
Where did you get to see much of that game?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because Texas Tech. let me look here, but I don't think Texas Tech is that good this year. Yeah,
Texas Tech is always um, a formidable uh, opponent.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if they're ever, scares anybody,
yeah.
but you can't take them lightly.
No, that's what it was. They lost to Wyoming in overtime. Uh,
Yeah,
and then this game was at Texas Tech, and so they kept it close with Oregon. Oregon ends it late with a pick six. Was really the deciding factor in this one. The
yeah,
Texas Tech quarterback, I'm not a big fan of. So, but at least Oregon took care of business, got the win, and didn't get upset.
yeah. That that was an important game for Oregon.
Yeah, yeah. So good win there. LSU over Grambling, 72-10. Good job, LSU, of doing what you're supposed to do against Grambling.
Yeah, it's
First
I
win
don't
of the
know.
year.
I just makes me sick to see some of these scheduled games, but they all do it, and so
Yeah,
as long as you take care of business, if you're going to do it, then
yeah,
do it right.
yeah. And credit to them, they get the first win of the season. They put up 70 plus, so good
Yeah,
job there. Kansas State over Troy, good win for Kansas State. Oregon State over UC Davis, good win there. I had my eyes on this was a great matchup, North Carolina and Appalachian State. And
yeah,
I think North Carolina isn't going to agree to play Appalachian State anymore because they played them tough every time they've played.
yeah. I read something about they're not too excited about playing them again.
Yeah, it goes to
You can
double
see why.
overtime. Yeah, it was cool. I was rooting for Appalachian State. I love chaos, and they almost got it done. It was a hard fought, and credit to North Carolina for pulling it out in the end, but great game to watch.
Yeah, they were fortunate. I'm not impressed at all with North Carolina.
Yeah, they've got the quarterback in Drake May, but you know, I don't know. I don't. They kept South Carolina in the game when they shouldn't have, and they Appalachian State almost beat them. So
Yeah,
North Carolina's going to need to play a lot better going forward.
yeah, their defense is going to have to get better.
Yeah. And then do you see that stuff with the NCAA not letting that wide receiver play for North Carolina?
What was that again?
The NCAA won't let one of North Carolina's wide receivers play. They keep calling
Yeah,
him ineligible, and Mac
yeah.
Brown is calling him out. He's not happy.
I don't quite understand that myself.
Yeah,
It's confusing to me because I don't see that his circumstances was in his control.
yeah, I know it's very, very weird. And Mac Brown was pretty much like, "Shame on you, NCAA." Like he was not happy. So
Yeah,
whenever an old ball coach like Mac Brown speaks out like that, there's usually something to it.
yeah. I tend to think he's right in this case.
Yeah. So hopefully, they get it figured out. Let the kid play football, right? Like, what are we doing? You know,
Yeah.
you're only a kid once. You're only in college once. Let them play football.
Well, I mean, if there was some big deal, why you should keep him out, okay, but there wasn't anything
Yeah,
unusual.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So hopefully the NCAA, gets it together and makes the right decision there. Uh, Oklahoma beats SMU 28-11. Oklahoma out to a 2-0 start. Dylan Gabriel and the Sooners. I'm looking forward to the Red River rivalry. That's always one of my favorite games of the year. Do you like that game?
Yes, sure do.
Yeah, so and we'll see. Texas looks great. Oklahoma looks good so far. So we'll see if that, it's always a great game.
It usually is. I mean, it's just got a unique circumstances around it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's a state fair
Yeah,
deal, and neither team is actually home.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah. The tradition and pageantry of it, everything about it's very cool.
It sure is.
And I'm glad at least if they're gonna move out of the Big 12, at least they stay in the same conference and keep that game, keep that rivalry.
Yes, I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. Wisconsin, number 19, Wisconsin takes a road loss against Washington State, 31-22. Tough loss for Wisconsin early in the year. How surprised are you by that outcome?
Not a lot, actually.
Tough
I've got
place to play.
what's that?
It's always tough to go at Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State it can be really tough. There's no question
Yeah,
about it. And they're playing at home.
yeah,
Um, Wisconsin hasn't really impressed me that much, so I
yeah.
figured it would be a game that Wisconsin should win,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not surprised that they didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, they were favored. Wisconsin was favored by less than a touchdown,
yeah.
and so I mean that's not a big vote, I mean, you say, well, they might win this.
Yeah, tough road game, and it sucks for Wisconsin, who was trying to be a team to beat this year, but early season loss and at Washington State, it's just one of those matchups that can sneak up and bite you. So
Yep.
credit to the Cougars for getting that win. How about Ole Miss beating Tulane, 37-20, beat them by 17 points. I think Tulane was without their starting quarterback, but big win for Ole Miss.
Yeah. Ole Miss is kind of a mystery team to me.
Yeah,
They're always going to have the potential of scoring a ton of points
yeah,
and the potential of giving up a lot of points. So you never know what you're going to get with them.
yeah,
But Tulane being rated in the top 25 was a surprise to everybody to start with.
yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody knew anything about them.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that they didn't deserve it, but I mean, they they uh, they
yeah.
they didn't get it done. They were at home and they didn't get it done.
Yeah, their first true test, but it's at home, against an SEC team, a chance to really wake everybody up about who Tulane is this year,
Yeah,
and they get beat by 17 points. It's not a good look.
no,
How do you feel about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin? I mean, good win on the road, put up the points, but can they keep it up? Probably not, right? We've seen this before from Ole Miss.
it's same old story. I think year after year at Ole Miss.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they'll. I mean, I think they have the potential of winning every game that they play, actually,
yeah,
but they also have the potential of losing every game.
yeah.
So I mean,
I was,
you don't know what you're going to get.
yeah, you can sprinkle in a couple upsets and a couple bad losses every year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seems like it, doesn't it?
yeah. Duke over Lafayette. Duke 2-0, ranked. They win 42-7. Go Duke. I'm rooting for this team.
Yeah, so far so good, right?
Yeah. You beat Clemson in the opener. That's going to wake up a lot of people, and they took care of business in week 2. So we'll see how long they can stay undefeated.
Yeah, again, I don't know anything about Duke, so I don't
Yeah,
know if they're a flash in the pan or not
yeah,
until they play someone that we respect on the other side. Um, it's going to be kind of hard to judge them.
yeah.
It's hard to think that Duke is going to do that much damage, but you know, it's there in front of them. So
Yeah,
if they've got it, then you know they'll do it.
I just wish. How cool would it be if Zion Williamson played football instead of basketball?
Yeah.
Put him on that Duke team.
Yes.
But Colorado takes care of business. Their home opener against Nebraska. Some talk back and forth, both sides. Matt Rule, Deion Sanders. Um, Nebraska looking to bounce back after a loss in week one, and Colorado coming off such a big high of that win against TCU. They started a little bit slow, 0-0 after the first quarter, 13-0 at halftime, but pulled away in the second half. Colorado wins 36-14. Uh, do you see this game, and are your thoughts the same on Colorado after getting a 2-0, getting this win?
Yeah. Uh, I guess at first I got to say is I don't know what Nebraska's got.
Yeah,
They're a big question mark.
yeah,
Um, and I think we got a pretty good idea of what Colorado has.
yeah.
So I mean that should have been a Colorado win just by eyeballing it. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think anybody was surprised by that. So I think Colorado's uh, they got a good package, but they still have things to prove.
Yeah.
They
They
beat they beat you remember they beat a TCU that was players down. The talent wasn't there
Yep,
that they had last year, so they weren't playing that same championship team.
yep,
So and then they beat Nebraska, who lost the week before. So I mean,
yep.
I don't know that Colorado yet has proven themselves, but they sure got your attention.
Absolutely, and they should beat Colorado State to get to 3-0. But then the big matchup is going to be at Oregon,
Yes.
and that's going to be all eyes are going to be on that matchup. 3:30 on ABC. I can't wait for that game. That's going to be if you can go into Oregon and beat the Ducks, then everyone's going to be going crazy. And if they beat
Yeah.
Oregon, a lot of people are going to pick them to beat USC. And I doubt they can win both of those. But if they can win one of those two, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
can't wait. Kind of a easy win should be. I know it's a rivalry game, but they should take care of Colorado State. And then back-to-back weeks where it's for real, and Colorado's going to be a lot of fun to watch those 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm not looking that far ahead. I'm not. I'm wishing this season would just slowly go by.
Yeah,
It goes too quickly the way it is.
yeah,
I
it's already going quick.
What's that?
It's already going pretty quick.
Yes, it is. So
Yeah,
it always does. Every year you wake up and it's the sixth game, and you're
yeah,
like, oh wow.
yeah. So 2-0 Colorado. They should get to 3-0 if they take care of business, and then the fun will start. Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M falls to Miami. They allow 48 points to the Hurricanes and get beat by 15. There's Texas A&M. Pretty much everyone saw it coming, right? Maybe not against Miami, but against somebody, they're going to trip up at some point. And a tough loss for Texas A&M to the Hurricanes. What do you
I
think
don't
of
know.
that?
I don't know what their problem is.
Yeah,
I really don't. They got talent. I
yeah,
mean, they do have a good coach. They're evidently just not prepared to play football.
yeah.
I just don't understand what's going on there.
Me neither. It doesn't make much sense.
I mean, kudos
Yeah.
to Miami,
Yeah.
but I just don't understand A&M at all.
Yeah. I haven't understood them for a while, you know?
You're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I remember when they had Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans and a loaded team then, and it was like they should have championship expectations, and they wouldn't get it done even then.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I mean, I know it's crazy money wise, but this has gotta put the Jimbo Fisher. You know, he's been on the hot seat for a while. It's got to be right back on it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't see how he wouldn't be.
yeah. So something to keep an eye on for sure. Tough loss for
Uh,
Texas A&M. Big win for Miami. They get to 2-0, and that's a good win for Miami against a ranked team.
yes.
So I like it when Miami's good. So I kind of root for them.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know yet if they're good.
yeah,
Um, maybe good's the right thing. They're just not bit more than good right now.
yep.
Uh, I mean, anybody can beat A&M, it seems like, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, Miami is played that game well, so you gotta give them some credit there.
Absolutely. Clemson bounces back. They put up 66 on Charleston Southern and get to 1-1. So they can put that losing streak to rest. And
Yeah,
Cade Klubnik 4 touchdowns. And we'll see if Clemson can bounce back. But terrible start to the season with that opening loss, and at least they bounced back in this one in a game that they absolutely had to win.
yeah, you got to be careful there. Don't take Clemson too lightly yet.
Yeah,
I think people they're way down the list now because they're you know did a little struggling. But man, I tell you, I don't underestimate Clemson.
yeah, and that team has to be fired up. Dabo has to be fired up. Like, this is it. We can't lose anymore like that.
Right?
So at least they took care of business there, get the 1-1, and we'll see what they can build going forward the rest of this season.
Yes.
Wake Forest beats Vanderbilt. Good win for them. Vanderbilt, we were talking about, they're out to 2-0. Now they're 2-1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lost at Wake.
That's a little more what we call in the SEC normal.
Yeah. Purdue with a road win over Virginia Tech. A good bounce back win for Purdue against
Yeah,
the Hokies.
that was a game that lasted forever. They couldn't get it done. They
Yeah,
finally did, but it took them forever.
that could be one of those that throws you out of your rhythm, and who knows how it affects the players, that long wait.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like starting it completely over. I mean,
yeah,
it's like you didn't play it before that at all.
yeah, yeah. It's got to be tough on the kids. But credit to Purdue getting the road win.
Yeah,
Um,
that was very positive for Purdue. There's no question about that.
yeah. How about James Madison over Virginia? I don't know. Virginia falls to 0-2. James Madison 2-0, and James Madison has to consider that a road win against Virginia. That they have to think they're probably thinking they're pretty good at 2-0.
Well, just to remind you that James Madison had been in the championship game several years in a row in Division Two.
Okay.
They've always been very good.
Yeah.
So to take it over into Division One and continue your play the way it is, that's
Hmm.
impressive.
Yeah.
And so now whether they can keep it up or not, I don't know, but it didn't surprise me that that was the case.
Yeah. And Virginia, maybe Virginia is going to be terrible this year. But credit to James Madison for getting a big road win. Uh, how about do you have you paid attention to in your history of watching college football? Do you pay attention to Iowa against Iowa State?
Yeah, whenever I get a chance they're playing, I like it. It's a good rivalry.
Yeah, and Iowa with a road win, 20-13. I actually interviewed um what's his name? I gotta look that up. But I interviewed a former Iowa State head coach, and he talked about that rivalry.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was real cool. Getting because I had never paid attention to that rivalry at all. But
Well, I don't know. It's you're talking about two different conferences all the time, but yet
hmm
they were able to maintain the games on their schedule.
yeah,
Um, that's pretty impressive when you can continue to do that.
yeah,
And for the state, it's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. I love it when they keep those rivalries going. And it's about tradition, and even if you switch up conferences or whatever, you keep that tradition. The coach's name was Larry Coyer, and he died recently. So R.I.P. to Larry Coyer. It was a great interview and cool to talk Iowa State with him. Um, so yeah, good job Iowa winning that rivalry game. How about Michigan State beats the Richmond Spiders. So I mean, a game they should win. They take care of business and get it done. Gets a 2-0, but the big test is coming up against Washington.
Yes.
If you can find a way to win that, then that'll open a lot of eyes.
Well,
But
that'd be impressive if they beat Washington. That will be very impressive.
yeah, but I just think the talent disparity is one thing, but the off the field stuff that Michigan State's had to deal with this week and a
Yeah.
new coach,
Yeah.
that's really gonna hurt them. I hope they play, pissed off and rally around the team because of it. Um, some questions about how fair the Mel Tucker firing and all that is. A lot of questions around all that, but hopefully it's competitive. That's all I can say. If we pull off the upset, I'll be ecstatic. But do I expect it? No, I do not.
Well, the thing with it is, you never know with these young men how something like that affects them. Some of
Yeah,
them it really fires up,
yeah,
and not necessarily a downer.
yeah,
And I don't know what the relationship was between the coach and the players.
yeah,
So maybe they're not too upset that he's gone. Who knows?
yeah, yeah. Who
Uh,
knows?
so I just think it's up to the guys on the field how they take the whole situation.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like he's been there forever. It's not like
Right.
you know, so it could be not that big of a deal. We'll see. And I like the guy, the interim coach. I think it's Harlan Barnett or something like that. And I've heard of him before. I think he's a good coach. So who knows? Um, Cincinnati beats Pittsburgh 27-21. A good road win for Cincy, who gets a 2-0. Good start to the season for Cincinnati.
Yes.
And Cincinnati is interesting to me because you see talent leave Cincinnati and go to the pros all the time, and they do a decent job of replacing the talent. So, do you like Cincinnati? Have you seen much of them this year so far? And
I actually haven't seen anything live,
yeah,
so I really don't know. I can't judge just by the scores and stuff. But um, Cincinnati is for some time has been someone to be reckoned with,
yeah,
and so I got to think that they've got talent. I'm just surprised that Pittsburgh isn't that good.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is like, is Pittsburgh any good? And they're so up and down. It's really hard to tell.
And that's sad because, man, you remember when Pittsburgh was a tough team to beat?
Yeah,
I mean, uh, it's just, I mean, you remember the old Pittsburgh Penn State games and stuff? I mean,
yeah. It's
it
been
used
a
to
minute.
really be something, but Pittsburgh, for some reason, they just struggle to get the right people in there to get that program going.
Yeah, and I like their head coach too, Pat Narduzzi, I think,
Yeah,
and from Michigan State, former Spartans defensive coordinator. And it's been a long time since Pittsburgh's been dominant like that, and
yeah.
it's disappointing because you feel like with the Steelers and the city of Pittsburgh, they deserve good football out there.
Well, they've always had plenty of support, and
Yeah,
so I'm just, I don't know. I don't think Cincinnati is a, someone to be afraid of either. So I don't know why Pittsburgh would could have. I think they could have won the game. It's only a 6 point spread, so
yeah,
that could have gone the other way possibly,
yeah,
but it didn't. And then we would be saying, what's wrong with Cincinnati? And
yeah,
so, I mean, when you get close games like that, sometimes they just match up well.
yeah, absolutely. That seems like one of those games very evenly matched.
Yeah,
And I mean, Cincinnati's been on the uptick of recently, with
yeah,
Desmond Ritter going to the playoff against Bama, so uh, good on Cincinnati for getting better and getting a 2-0 this year. How about I don't know if this game means anything or not, but Georgia State beats UConn 35-14, beat them by 21 points. UConn didn't even score until the fourth quarter. Is UConn really terrible, or is Georgia State not that bad? Which one do you think it is?
I would say that you're right on both cases. UConn is, UConn.
Yeah,
And Georgia State, I mean, no one ever talks about some of these teams that have joined the Division One a few years back,
yeah,
and they're good teams out of Division Two, and they come in and um, they're a force to be dealt with.
mm-hmm,
And I've watched Georgia State a little bit, and they've been competitive for years.
yeah,
They're always vying for their own conference championship.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but it's odd to see UConn on the losing end of that.
yeah. I know, but UConn's been pretty bad of late too, so uh, hard to tell either way. But Georgia State starts 2-0, and I kind of like it, and I kind of want to root for Georgia State a little bit. Stay undefeated, keep winning,
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of being 2-0, Missouri gets to 2-0, beating Middle Tennessee. Is Missouri any good, do you think, this year, or probably not?
Uh, Missouri was tough last year.
Okay.
Um, I mean, they weren't, in the upper echelon of team, but they were a team to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Middle Tennessee is not anything, scary either.
Yeah.
So, you know, Missouri should have won that game, and they did.
Yeah, and it was only by 4 points, so maybe that's a bad thing that it was kind of close. So we'll see with Missouri. They're 2-0, which is good, but something to keep an eye on there. UCF beats Boise State. Man, Boise State out to an 0-2 start this year.
Gee, really, look at that.
Not great. Good win for UCF, but yeah, I've always one of my earlier memories of college football was the Boise State upsetting Oklahoma with those trick plays. Remember?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, well, they
And
were giant killers.
yeah, and they've kind of fallen off a bit since then.
Yeah, well, they've gone through some regime changes and other things, and
Yeah.
they've lost the surprise
Yep.
factor, you know.
Yep.
So I mean, they're not the old Boise State, but they're still usually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Central Florida's coming on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
2-0.
that's Auburn's old ex-coach
Okay.
there. So I mean, he's building a pretty good program there.
Yeah.
You know, Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
So Central Florida, uh, them pulling that game out is I'm not surprised at it at all, even though it was at Boise.
Yeah. And they hit a 55-yard field goal as time expired to win that game.
Yeah.
So big win for UCF on the road.
Yes.
Um, what do you make of UCLA and Chip Kelly? Because he's had a lot of success before at Oregon. He didn't really work out in the NFL, which I thought, but he's a lot more comfortable in the college game. Do you think he can build UCLA into something?
I don't know how long you give him.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I think most everybody expected them to be there by now,
yeah, I
and
agree.
maybe they are now. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's a lot of expectation there.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
you keep looking back at what he did at Oregon, and you say, "Wow, you know,
Yeah,
we got that coach."
yeah,
But I
exactly.
don't think they're playing the same style ball, are they?
No, maybe they're trying to, but they're not replicating it, and it should be easy to recruit at UCLA. So that's why I think it has such high expectations.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. And then how about your Auburn Tigers getting a road win over Cal and actually a pretty competitive game, and they get the win 14-10.
Yeah, that was two quick scores and then nothing for a while.
Yeah, yeah, just back and forth, low scoring.
That was I don't know if you know it or not, but California, at least in the numbers, was a decently rated team,
Mm-hmm.
and so for Auburn to go in there and beat them uh, is is impressive. I
Yeah,
don't think they were favored. I think California was favored,
yeah.
and for them to go in there and pull that game out is pretty impressive.
Yeah, good. 2-0 start and a big road win to start the year. I mean, got to be happy if you're an Auburn fan right now.
Yeah, the coach is really king of the roost right now.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze, right? Yeah, the freeze out.
Yeah, the old freeze warning.
Took that with him to Cal. Yeah. Uh, versus Samford this week, so that should be a win. And then at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
If he can take care of that, go 4-0 into a matchup against number one Georgia. How fun would that be?
Well, I don't know how much fun that will be. You
Yeah.
know, we really think that Auburn's going to be competitive this year, but you know, anybody that plays Georgia,
Yeah.
you got to be a little concerned. You know.
Yeah. And three straight ranked opponents. You play versus number one Georgia, at number 14 LSU, versus number 17 Ole Miss. So we'll get a real good
Yeah.
idea of who Auburn is after that 3 game stretch.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they're saying here too.
Yeah.
You know, they're being realistic. You know, they don't think Auburn's going to be running the table by any stretch.
Yeah.
Those three games are going to very possibly be losses, and it's almost acceptable.
Yeah.
Um, but I
Because
think it's like you said before, you'd like their team to be competitive at least.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, how about if you could go into Texas A&M and steal that game and go 4-0 into the Georgia game? The Auburn will be buying the hype. The atmosphere will be crazy. I know that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And you
So then
never
that,
know. I mean, that's why we strap on the helmets, right?
yeah.
Anything can happen.
I wouldn't, you can write in pen the Georgia's a loss, right? And who cares really? But if you
Right.
can go into Texas A&M and win or beat uh who the other matchups like it's Ole Miss or if you can win those games, I look at Texas A&M. That's a great opportunity to get a big quality win.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
so
the talent wise, you can't compare Auburn with Georgia, okay?
yeah.
But there's more to just talent.
Mm-hmm.
There's desire. There's breaks. Uh,
Yep.
there's a lot of things that go into college football that can offset a team that's more talented. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen it. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah. Well, all you gotta do, I mean, so you go into that game undefeated. You're at home, and the crowd is amped up. You got the players somewhat believing in what you're building. You get an early takeaway, an early turnover score, and you take a 7-0 lead. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can build on it possibly.
Yeah. Uh, all I'm saying is if Auburn takes care of business and goes into that Georgia game 4-0, I don't have any reason to root for Auburn at all, but I'm going to be the biggest Auburn fan in that game against Georgia, just rooting for chaos.
Yes. Yep.
So,
Well, and like I said, anything can happen. Um,
yeah,
I mean, the expectations of anything like that happening is not very high, but
yeah,
again, it's college football, so
yeah, exactly. That's why we love it. For you know. So, let's look at week 3. Miami hosts Bethune-Cookman. Miami should take care of business, get to 3-0. On Thursday night. Navy at Memphis. Good opportunity for Memphis to get to 3-0. So two teams to keep an eye on. I like those early teams that are undefeated, 3-0, 4-0. I like to talk about them because who knows if how much you can build on that.
absolutely.
Keep winning, stay undefeated. Friday night, Virginia at Maryland. Talia Tagovailoa. I kind of root for him. Tua's little brother there at Maryland. If he's good, can he elevate Maryland and get them to 3-0 and how far they can go in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think Maryland will take care of that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Army UTSA, not too much there. Air Force is 2-0. They host Utah State on Friday night. We'll see if Air Force can get to 3-0.
That's always a good game.
Yeah, that matchup.
For some reason, Utah and Air Force usually battle it pretty well.
Nice. That'll be a good game for Friday night. Saturday, number 3, Florida State at Boston College. Boston College didn't look that good to me, so Florida State should take care of business there. Penn State at Illinois. Again, Penn State should take care of business, but two ranked teams going on the road, games that they should win easily. Something to keep an eye on just in case. Um, but I doubt it.
Right.
LSU at Mississippi State. That could be a matchup. Mississippi State 2-0. LSU better be ready for that matchup. Mississippi State could shock them.
Mississippi State has a way of surprising people
Yeah,
anytime. I don't
yeah.
care
In,
who it is.
in Starkville, if Brian
And
Kelly's not ready, yeah,
yeah, and even though LSU just come off of their blowout of Grambling,
yeah,
that doesn't make them that much of a threat, really. I mean, they've not proven anything.
yep,
They lost their first ball game, a big
yep,
contest.
yep.
So I don't know if the coach is going to have these guys in the right frame of mind against Mississippi State.
Yeah. And
So yeah, I've got that game circled. I want to see that one.
me too. On ESPN at noon, and a great opportunity for Mississippi State. You know, you win that, get to 3-0, beat LSU, that they'll start believing. They'll start
Yeah,
well. You know. Kansas State at Missouri. We talk about Missouri. This is a big test for them. 2-0 Kansas State coming in at home. Can they shock Kansas State, keep it close? Battle of two undefeated teams, so that'll be fun as well.
yes, it will.
Um, let's see here. How about South Carolina at Georgia? I mean, Georgia should beat them bad,
Yeah,
but it's a SEC matchup. You know, who knows? But yeah, Georgia should win that.
yes,
Bama at USF. Bama at South Florida, is that correct? Um,
yes.
you know, I don't know
Yeah, I
how
don't know
much.
how to look at that one either. Really, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think Alabama's going to lose that ball game.
no, they shouldn't. Nick
I
Saban
mean,
is going to be all over them
yeah,
after losing to Texas, so they should be able to run away with that one.
yeah, but I
Uh,
still think a lot of folks are going to want they're going to want to see that game
yeah,
just to kind of feel out Alabama again.
yeah. See if Bama can run away with that one.
Yeah,
Central Michigan Notre Dame in South Bend. That's a good game, but you know, and that's a game where Notre Dame don't get caught sleeping, don't get caught looking forward to Ohio State. Take care of business, blow out Central like you're supposed to, and take that undefeated record against Ohio State.
yeah, just focused on the game. Don't worry about next week because next week will take care of itself.
Absolutely.
I don't
um,
know. I think Notre Dame is a different in a different era now.
I agree.
So
In past
I
years, you would be worried about NC State or maybe slipping up against Central. Notre Dame this year looks built and confident, and they got the quarterback to believe in, and a complete team that they should take care of business, and they expect to beat a team like Ohio State and keep the train rolling down the tracks. You know?
yes, that is the expectation.
Yeah. So gonna be fun to keep an eye on that. How about Oregon State 2-0? Good opportunity for Oregon State to get to 3-0 against San Diego State.
And they
So
should. They should.
yeah. Oklahoma at Tulsa. Oklahoma should take care of business there.
Right?
Minnesota 2-0 Minnesota at 2-0 North Carolina. Look, if North Carolina is going to struggle a little bit against South Carolina, if they're going to go to double overtime against Appalachian State, who knows? Maybe Minnesota can come in here and pull the upset.
And they could.
Yeah,
Uh, Minnesota may not be in the top 25, but they're still acknowledged a little farther down.
yeah,
Well, they're still a contender, someone you got to contend with.
absolutely.
So if Minnesota wins that game, actually it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and that would be great for Minnesota. Get to 3-0, a road ranked win. It's cool when Minnesota, one of these Big Ten teams, starts out good, you know, and it poses a threat out of nowhere. Northwestern at Duke. Duke, a good opportunity to get to 3-0.
Yeah, I don't see how they don't.
Yeah, so keep on rolling, Duke. Iowa should win against Western. Virginia Tech at Rutgers, an opportunity for Rutgers to get to 3-0 against VTech.
Yes.
Ohio State against Western Kentucky. Ohio State should get to 3-0. The big matchup that we're all looking at, or at least that I'm looking at, is Washington going to East Lansing. Battle of two undefeated teams. And how does Michigan State perform against Washington? Again, all the drama with the coaching situation. So we'll see If Michigan State can just keep that game competitive, they couldn't keep it competitive last year, and if they couldn't last year, I have a hard time believing they're going to do it this year. So Washington looks like the real deal, and if they take care of Michigan State the way they should, Washington should keep it rolling. Do you think so?
Uh, the expectations would be Washington should win this easily,
Yeah, yeah.
but but um,
You
I don't
never
know.
know.
Somehow it seems like Michigan State can jump up and bite a contender. They have
Yeah,
in the past.
yeah. Well, if I had my preference, I'd wait until that Michigan game.
Yeah.
We need some revenge there. I'm tired, tired of getting beat by blue. Um, let's see here. Tennessee at Florida. 2-0 Tennessee going to Gainesville. Is that something to keep an eye on, in your opinion?
No.
Tennessee should take care of business.
I say that I've got to check as I'm going to pay attention, but I
Yeah,
don't see Tennessee having any trouble with Florida.
yeah, yep. Get to 3-0. We'll see. I agree with you. Tennessee should win, but over the years, I don't trust Tennessee. So, but Florida might be bad. So it's hard to say one way or the other there.
Well, this year is their probably best opportunity to be on top in the
Tennessee,
SEC.
yeah, yeah,
So if they're not focused for all their games, then that's just bad coaching.
yeah.
This is
I,
their opportunity, and so
yeah,
don't let Florida trip you up.
yeah. I agree 100%. Michigan against Bowling Green. Michigan should be able to get to 3-0 pretty easily. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech. That's actually, I think, a pretty good game where Georgia Tech could, like you said earlier, we never know with Ole Miss. Maybe Georgia Tech comes in and stuns them. So they need to take Georgia Tech seriously.
Yeah, they need to play seriously, and I think they will. I don't see Ole Miss losing that ball game.
Yeah. Yep. So 2-0 BYU at 2-0 Arkansas. Do you like Arkansas this year at all? They got a decent quarterback, right?
Yes, uh,
Yeah. Is it
but
KJ Jefferson?
yeah, but I don't know. Um, I'm not impressed with them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's a good contest.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see about BYU this year too, and we're gonna whoever wins that game and gets to 3-0, we're gonna have a lot more respect for going forward. How about 2-0 Wyoming at 2-0 Texas? Any chance that's a decent game?
There's always a chance. In this case, I'd say it's slim and none, but
Yeah, Texas.
I don't see Texas backing down for the
Yeah,
rest of the season.
yeah,
I mean, they just had the biggest. You got to remember now; these are young men, and
yep.
they got to keep their heads on straight. Um, but I mean, they got to recognize who they're playing
Hmm.
and that they can't let up.
Well, sometimes human emotion, right? You come off a win over Bama in Tuscaloosa, the national media singing your praises, everyone on campus patting you on the back. You
Yes,
might look past Wyoming, and Wyoming's already proven to me that they're a team that you can't take lightly.
right, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, something to keep an eye on there. But Texas should win. I agree. Um, and then late Saturday, let's see, what time is this game? Yeah, 10 p.m. on ESPN. Colorado State at Colorado. That's going to be
Well,
a fun nightcap Saturday night.
yes, it is. Yes, for sure.
And Colorado should blow them out, but it's a rivalry game, so you never know.
Well, again, I don't see Colorado losing that game.
23-point favorites.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean they're gonna put up points,
yeah,
and but I don't know what their defense is going to do this time.
yeah. This
But
should
I
be
don't
a
see them losing.
statement game. this should be one of those where they put up 50, 60 points on them.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know if Dion uh, will be pulling out his starters if they get a big lead.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to get your guys if you're well ahead, you don't want to get them hurt playing
Yeah.
a game that's meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that's a Colorado State Colorado game, but
Hmm.
it doesn't take on the same aura as it has in the past.
No, and Colorado State hasn't been very competitive lately. So, and then
Yeah,
Colorado might be better this year than they've been in a long time.
no
So,
question. Yeah,
yeah, and that's just going to set up for the Colorado Oregon matchup next, a week from that. So, don't look Colorado State take care of business and set up the game we all want to see in
yep.
Colorado. So, looking forward to another great week of football. Week 3 coming up, Dean. It's already going fast, and can't wait for another weekend of great football.
Yeah, this week isn't as strong as we've had in the past, but there's a few key games there
Yeah,
that will make a difference.
yeah,
So, I mean, there's enough interest there that I don't think I'm going to be bored.
yeah, absolutely. And it's college football. There's always going to be some score that pops up that you're like, "What? What's going on here?" And you got to go check it out.
Exactly. Yes.
So, but how are you happy with the season so far? It's still early and everything going the way you expected it to?
Pretty much, I think. With some of the surprises like Colorado and some of these other things. I mean, it's made the season a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but I think pretty much it's gone the way everybody expects. I mean, I think that basically this last week, out of the top 25, I think four teams lost,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them played each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that means that the guys that are supposed to win basically won.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't play in Alabama and Texas in the top 25 without one of them losing.
Yep. Yep.
So, I mean, it's pretty much going as expected.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, it's going as expected pretty much so far early in the season, and uh, we're about a week away from it getting to be a little bit more chaos, right? I think week 4 is when you
Yeah,
get
week
some,
4.
yeah, some really good matchups.
Yeah, we're going to lose some undefeated teams week 4.
Yeah, yeah. And that's my favorite. Like, I don't care who you are. If it's two undefeated teams matching up, I get excited for it. I'm at least going to check it out.
Yep, I agree.
So looking at your numbers rankings through week 2, Texas number 1 coming off that big win over Bama. Florida State at 2. I like both those teams up top. How about Auburn number 3? I
You know I manipulated that, right?
like you had to.
you know, um, it surprised me too.
Yeah.
But they they did take care of California, which I said was last week was a top 25 team in the numbers.
Yeah.
So they got rewarded for it, but I didn't expect that to happen.
Hey,
Yeah, I thought maybe they'd be down there around 20 or something, but
yeah.
that's what the numbers. But look how tight the numbers are from third on down.
Yeah, very close.
So they're all very close. It doesn't take much to move up or down. A point here and there, and you can move 5, 6, 7 places.
Yeah, from like 6 to 20. It's all so close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, all those undefeated teams. I mean, eventually, that's why it's so important to not to be playing Division 2 guys because you don't get credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you seen where Georgia is?
Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. Like, if you don't play anybody, Georgia all the way down here at 40.
I would be horsewhipped if I was to say that Georgia was 40.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, you can
but you
point
look at
to
who they've played,
yeah,
they're not getting much credit. I mean, look at their points. It's like half of what it should be compared to
yeah,
the other top guys.
yep,
That tells you they're not playing anything tough.
yep.
And here's the other point you got to remember.
Hmm.
Every week, the point value uh, is not manipulated, but it changes every week.
Yeah, reset
It's
according,
reset. Yes,
according to the rankings.
yes.
Yeah,
Um, and after this week, after this rating, Texas is on top right now, as you see, but that means that the reshuffle, uh, Texas doesn't get the points that they got this time. If you
hmm,
look way down here, Alabama's way down the list.
yeah,
And that's the points they get now is that. So, I mean, they're getting less points um, because Alabama's not doesn't have as many worth points now.
yeah,
So it keeps shifting around, and you could be on top one week and then you're pulled down. I mean, I think we had Duke way up there at one time,
yep. They
and
fall to 12.
they're down to 12, and it's because again, the team that they beat, their points diminished,
Yep.
and that meant that Duke's point diminished. It's hard to explain to
But
someone, you
it's
know,
cool because it's an ever-changing landscape,
exactly.
and it's hard to create something that's ever-changing on like a spreadsheet and in numbers form, and that's what makes it. It's almost like a living organism.
Really, I mean, very much so. I mean, the value of each of those teams change every week, every one of them.
Yeah,
And so you may beat them when they are up higher, but when they're down lower, you don't get as many points, and that shows up in your total.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
very
that's
cool.
how a team rises from the bottom is, once they get past playing all these weak things, they play somebody tough and win, they'll move right up.
Yeah,
So, those that are Georgia people, uh, don't be dismayed yet,
yeah,
but they better beat the big guy, the next big guy they do play.
yeah. That's the thing is, if you're a Georgia fan, why would you be worried about what the numbers tells you right now? You believe you're going to go undefeated anyways. And if you
Right.
go undefeated, you're going to be number one at the end of the year.
You're going
You
to climb
know?
right up there. Yes, you're going to be
Yeah.
right up there near the top. And but the system is called the win loss value,
Yeah.
and so that's what matters. The,
Yeah.
the win values will pull you right up the list, and so no matter where you start, if
Hmm.
you keep winning, you're just going to move up.
Yeah.
And if you lose a game, that hurts.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be. I mean, there's so much like, and it does take into consideration how you win, how much you win by, are you home, are you away, all that stuff it takes into consideration. Did you shut them out? Was it a close game? And so
Yes.
that's why I think it's very valuable, and it's fun to post, a top 10 that's different from everybody else's each week, and see how it follow it along, and then see it start to make sense, and it's very cool.
Well,
Um,
if you really stop and reason it out um, logically in your mind, if you say, "Well, I'm just going to go by what they do on the field," then
yeah,
this will make sense to you.
yeah, yeah, and
But if you're stuck on, well, we're better than that,
yeah,
well then you're going to have to just stay with the pollsters and play their game.
yeah,
But if you want to see your team, I would be excited. If I was a
yeah,
Georgia fan, I'd be excited to see them move up every week
Yeah.
and just see how they creep right up there and they're coming on, they're coming after you. And I would be excited about that.
Yeah.
And I would be proud that they're working their way right up the list by winning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who wants to be ranked number one in week 1 or week 2? Who cares? You
It
want to
doesn't
be ranked
matter.
number one at the end
Right.
of the year. Yeah.
Well, I mean, talk to Alabama,
Yeah.
the rating doesn't mean anything, does it?
Yeah.
Not now.
Got to win on the field.
Yeah.
Got to back it up. So, and
So,
that's the best thing about the numbers thing is it's all right in front of you. And if someone challenges you on it, you have you have everything right in front of you to be like, well, this is the reason it says this, and it's all based on the field.
yes.
And and so,
Yep.
you
It's
know,
who do you play and how did you play?
yeah.
And
So,
they can still argue with you, but you can say, well, I mean, look at Notre Dame. Look where they are in the numbers.
hmm,
Does that make any sense logically? We think Notre Dame is great, don't we? But
yeah,
they're 15 in the numbers
yeah,
because they really haven't butchered anybody either.
yeah,
I mean, last week they played a Division two team,
hmm,
so they didn't get much credit for that. That makes a difference.
yeah,
Despite being 3-0, um, that was a weak game,
yeah.
so you don't get much for that.
But it's all, their time will come, right? You got Ohio State coming up. That'll boost it up. USC, Clemson. And so, uh, at the end of the day, it all works itself out. And we'll see it in the numbers as long as we follow along all year long. Um, but yeah, Texas, Florida State, Auburn, Oklahoma, number 4. I like them up there. Washington State coming off a big win. USC 6. USC being 6, that's a good spot for them to be. They got to be happy with that early in the year at 3.
Well, I mean, that's about what the polls even say.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And they're getting the style points for blowout wins.
yeah,
Miami coming off a big win. They're up to 7. Washington 8. That's exactly where Washington is, I think.
yeah,
9
it is, yeah.
Michigan, 10 UCLA. So it's just fun to have a different perspective, a different top 10 than everybody else's. I mean, so many of these top 10s are one little difference here or there, 7 versus number 9. This is dramatically different, and it gets people's attention. And then if you follow it all season long, it'll make sense over time. And so I think it's cool as hell.
Yeah, it's very, very revealing, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes the opinions of Paul Feinbaum and Danny Cannell and these talking heads
Well, that
and
doesn't mean that we can't say, I think this team is better than that team, and I think this, and
yeah,
we just went through the schedule. We said this team ought to beat this team, and this team ought to beat that team, and
yeah,
that's our thinking.
mm-hmm,
The numbers doesn't reason that way.
yep,
It doesn't care what you think or what the spread is or anything. It says, what'd you do?
yep.
Well, we'll just take what you did and write it down. And if you
I
did
think
well, you'll be rewarded. If you didn't, you won't.
I think if AI looked at this thing, AI would love it.
Well, I don't trust AI,
I know. They would be like messing with
but you're
it.
right. It is that kind of thinking. It takes facts and figures,
Yeah,
and it's not biased.
yep. So I like it. Well, Uh, great stuff as always. Another week in the books and a great week 3 coming up. And the season's only going to get better and better as we get further into it.
Yes, it is.
So,
We get past this coming week. The next week is just going to be awesome.
yeah,
I mean, this is still a good week, but next week is going to be just absolutely amazing.
I'm gonna predict an upset or two this week. I think that a a team or two that is gonna get caught sleeping, gonna get caught looking forward to a matchup, and take a loss that they have no business taking. One or two, and I don't know who that is, but I just feel like whether it's Washington, who knows, but somebody, and we see it every week in college football. There's at least one or two upsets.
It usually happens.
Yeah,
And so likely, yes, it will this time too.
yep,
I mean, even this week there were some Division II teams that won.
yeah,
Okay, and that's just to me that's unacceptable.
yep,
But it happens, and if Division II is going to knock off Division I once in a while, then there's going to be other upsets too.
yep.
It's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, I think one of the teams for sure to keep an eye on, that LSU Mississippi State matchup. I agree with you. Circle that one. I think we should be paying attention to that game.
Yeah, and then there'll be some of them that we're not even paying a lot of attention to that are going to be surprises.
Yeah. Go South Carolina, by the
Wouldn't that be something?
way. Yeah.
But
But
we laugh, right?
yeah, you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But all right, well, good stuff, Dean. Great episode as always, and we'll meet you back same time, same place next week. Sound good?
yeah. That's awesome. I'll be prepared as much as I can. Looking forward to the games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm busy as hell now with NFL started, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
try and
I know you
juggle
are.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, I sure appreciate you having me with you on this stuff. I enjoy it
yeah,
as much as anybody.
no, I appreciate it. It brings a lot of value. It's a lot of fun to talk with you, talk football every week, and I'm because of this podcast, this series, I'm paying attention to college this year more than I have in probably ever. So I appreciate that as well. So thanks, and have a great week and enjoy the football, Dean.
I will, and you too, Alex.
Yep, appreciate
Bye.
it. Thanks everyone for the support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Have a great week, guys, and peace out.